Hello my babies, my name is Mina. Welcome to my channel, Mina Reads, and today I want to go over my 2024 reading stats as well as my 2025 reading goals. I love making these videos. I just think they're so fun, just to give you a little glimpse of what my entire reading year was like. And I also want to let you guys know what I'm looking forward to in 2025, what my goals are, and you know what I'm looking to achieve. I am a Storygraph girl, love Storygraph with all my heart. I have been using it for about 3 years now, maybe a little bit more. I absolutely love them. I think they are a great alternative to like Goodreads if you are using that, or any other book tracking app. I think that they're just really fun. I like seeing the stats every month and every year. I think that they're just very helpful to me, giving me a quick insight into what my reading life is like, and it helps me keep track of things. I know some people like to make their own like custom spreadsheets and stuff like that, but I am simply not that dedicated, so I appreciate Storygraph for the lazy girlies like me who do still want to see the stats but does not want to do the spreadsheet. Okay, so in 2024, I read 60 books, and across those 60 books, I read 19,238 pages. That's not too bad. I'm proud of myself. I've talked a little bit about the fact that 2024 was not like the best reading year for me in terms of quantity, just because there were a lot of life changes for me, as well as kind of being in a really deep reading slump. And also I was reading a lot of fan fiction. I can own up to that. I was reading a lot on AO3, not a lot from my shelves, and that's okay. Alright, so the first book that I read in 2024 was Yakuza Lover. This is a romance manga about this college girly who meets a mafioso, and it's about them being in love. Very ridiculous, very horny. It was cute though. It was a good way to start the year. And then the last book that I read was Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson. Y'all know I love my girl S.T. Gibson, and Odd Spirits is the prequel to Evocation. Evocation is one of my favorite books of all time. Is really up there. I absolutely adore that trio of characters, Moira, Reese, and David, and Odd Spirits is our first introduction to them and to their dynamic. S.T. Gibson edited and re-released this prequel recently, so I had to read the new release copy. The original version of Odd Spirits was a little bit iffy, so I'm glad that S.T. Gibson went in and made some changes. They were very good changes. I appreciated them. I'm going to show you the graph of the books and pages read per month, just so you can see kind of like my reading trends, but some high points and low points. My lowest point in the reading year was definitely in July. I believe I only read like 2 or 3 things in July, and I only managed 572 pages in July, but my most prolific reading month was in August, so every setback is set up for a comeback, you know what I'm saying? So in August, I read 2,866 pages, so good for me. I slayed. Up next, the genres that I spent the most time with: romance. I read over 30 romances. I read some contemporaries. I read about 25 contemporaries. I read a bunch of LGBTQ fiction. I read some fantasy. I read some literary fiction. The longest book that I read in 2024 was Way of Kings by a long shot. Way of Kings is 1,007 pages, a ginormous tome, and I completed it. Very, very proud of myself. That was a buddy read with my bestie, and I honestly can't believe that I accomplished that. 1,000 pages is ridiculous. The shortest book I read was 57 pages. This was a novella by Nicole Falls. It's called Dessert for Three. It's a little like poly hookup romance novella thing. It was alright. It was pretty forgettable. No shade to Nicole. Love Nicole. It was cute, but kind of forgettable. The average length of the books that I read in 2024 was about 317 pages. It usually took me about 9 days to finish books, but the book that took me the longest to read in 2024 was The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This book took me 158 days to complete, and this book is only like 200 pages. So absolutely ridiculous carrying on my part. I really should have just DNF'd that book, but I just really was not vibing with it at all. But it was kind of like my personal Mount Everest, and I had to conquer it because I had been wanting to read the book for years and years and years. So I wanted to finish it, but it just was not my vibe at all. Not my cup of tea. But I'm glad that I finished it. I'm glad I accomplished that. I'm glad that I, you know, succeeded and achieved my goal. But was it worth it? Probably not. I definitely could have DNF'd it, but that's okay. You know, we all make mistakes. All right, my average star rating for the year was a 3.39. That's not too great, but it's not too bad either, especially for kind of a questionable reading year. So I'm not mad about it. 30 of the books I read this year were a part of a series, and I reread 3 books this year. 27 of the books that I read were books that I actually physically owned. This was a big deal for me because one of my goals for the year was to read more of my physical TBR, and I feel like I did pretty good with that. I mean, I only read 60 books this year, so for 27 of them to have been physically owned, that's pretty good. The rest of the books I read were, you know, library books or books that I borrowed from Kindle Unlimited. So we can definitely do better this year, but I'm not too upset about that number. I feel like I did a good job. And the last stat I'm going to give you is my top 7 most read authors of the year. So I read 2 books by S.T. Gibson. I read 2 books by Faye Quinn. I read 2 books by Alexandra Rowland. I read 2 books by James S.A. Corey. I read 3 by Vienna Onyeomo. I read 4 by Rebecca Weatherspoon. I read 5 by Katrina Jackson. And I read 5 by Joe Abercrombie. So yeah, those are like my most frequently revisited authors of the year, and I had a good time with most of them. I would say James S.A. Corey is the one that I have the biggest like question mark for, because I have been very slowly making my way through the Expanse series, and I can't say that I'm like fully enjoying it. Like, I definitely think that I enjoy this TV show far more than I enjoy the book reading experience, which I'm sure is like very shocking and very jarring for most people, because most people say that the books are better. I think that the books are definitely more detailed in some ways, but I definitely just enjoy like the visual spectacle of the show more. I enjoy the way that the actors embody the characters a lot more. I think the only thing that I appreciate better in the books than in the show is the way that James Holden's character is kind of like portrayed. I feel like James is a lot more of a softie, and I love him a lot more in the books. I feel like he's more personable and like sweet, and it has a very adorable quality to him that he kind of doesn't possess as much in the show. But Stephen Strait is the love of my life, and I appreciate his rendition of very like angsty, stoic, serious Holden, so it's still fine. I definitely think I like the show better. Those are the main stats. I'm going to show you a little overview of all the books that I read here, just so you can see them, scroll through. Let's get into my goals for 2025. So for 2025, I want to up my reading goal a little bit. In 2024, my reading goal was 50 books, and I achieved that, and I actually exceeded that goal. Very proud of myself. So my reading goal for 2025 is going to be 75 books. I definitely think this is doable. It would only end up being about 6 books, a little bit over 6 books a month, and that's very doable, very achievable, especially if I cut out some of my fan fiction reading. I think I'll have plenty of time to read 6 books a month, and I definitely just want to lock in a little bit more with my reading life, because reading is fun. Reading is a really great escape for me, and I feel like I've gotten a little bit away from that. Like, I don't know, I feel like I had a little bit of a disconnect from my reading and like my enjoyment of it for large portions of 2024. So I'm excited to kind of dig back into reading and into booktube and like watching booktube content and all that, so I could just see myself reading a lot more this year. So I'm upping my reading goal just slightly, and I think I can do it. Then I want to read 30,000 pages. Now this one is a little I have not read 30,000 pages recently. I think I read over 30,000 pages maybe in like 2022, but it's been a while since then, and my reading has definitely kind of slowed down a lot. But I think that I could achieve 30,000 pages. That would be about 2,500 pages a month, and so far I'm filming this video on like January 10th, and so far this month I've already read 1,000 pages, so I feel like it's very doable, and I don't even feel like I read like that much this month, so I think it's doable. I don't think it's like an unachievable goal, but it will be like a little challenge for myself, and I'm excited to see if I can do it. Then I want to read 5 nonfiction books. I had a similar goal last year, and I only succeeded in reading 1 nonfiction book, so a bit disappointed in myself. So at first you don't succeed, you dust yourself off and you try again. So I have plenty of nonfiction books that are on my radar and that I own physically that I do have an interest in reading, but I don't know, last year was just, I don't know, I just didn't do it. But this year we will. I also want to read 5 books that are over 500 pages. This is another goal that I had last year, and I actually succeeded in that goal, and I want to continue working on that, just because I have a lot of very long books on my bookshelves, and I feel like I tend to shy away from those longer reads. But I mean, there's really no reason to. So I definitely want to be making sure that I am reading some of those books. And I think by attaching a numerical goal to it, it will just help me kind of, you know, motivate myself to pick them up. Then I want to complete all of the books on my 25 for 2025 list. So I have actually made a challenge for this on my Storygraph, and I will show that to you guys right now. This is what it looks like. But Storygraph is just so cool. This is like not a sponsored post by any means, but Storygraph, if you do want to sponsor me, let me know. My email is in the description box below. Storygraph has a lot of really cool functions, and one of the cool functions is their challenges function. So you can create challenges for yourself or for groups if you want to do like a book club or like a buddy reading challenge where there's a bunch of people that are involved in a reading challenge. You could do that. I'm just doing it solo. I'm the only participant, but I can put in all of my 25 books for 2025, and then as I read them, it will get checked off, and I get to see like a little, you know, percentage bar as I complete books. So that will definitely motivate me, and I am excited to do that. I also have another goal of reading 10 classics this year, and I made a reading challenge on Storygraph for that as well. So yeah, I'm already doing pretty good. I read one classic already this month. I want to read more books from my physical book collection. If I could again achieve reading like half the books that I read this year are books that are from my physical TBR, like that would be great. But this is sort of an ambiguous goal, but I think I can do it, you know. And my very last goal is I want to read my NetGalley arcs. I am doing so abysmally on NetGalley, it's not even funny. Like, shout out to all of the publishers who still continue to approve me for arcs over there, but I have not been doing the best at my feedback ratio. My feedback ratio is terrible right now. It's at like a 50%, I think. Like, I'm failing F, capital F, in red marker for me. Like, I'm doing a really bad job, okay? But I definitely want to do better this year, and so I want to get my feedback ratio up to like 80%. We're gonna work on it. We're gonna work on it, and I hope you guys will help keep me accountable. This is kind of a reading goal, but also kind of a content goal in a way. So for the channel, I want to make sure that I am making a reading wrap-up video every single month, and in these reading wrap-up videos, of course, I'm going to give you the reviews of the books that I read, but I also want to kind of update you on my reading stats and on how I'm doing with my reading goals. So I'm going to tell you, you know, how I'm doing in terms of like my classics goal, how am I doing in terms of my page goal, you know, all those kinds of things. And so I will definitely be letting you guys know like what progress I have made on my NetGalley score and all that kind of stuff, just to give you like little updates on the goals as the year goes on, and also to hopefully keep me more consistent with making my monthly wrap-ups, because I never am consistent with those, but I do like making them, and you guys seem to enjoy watching them, so I definitely want to be more consistent with that. And another content goal that I have is that I want to hit 45,000 subscribers, and I know that to do that I have to be making more content for you guys. And yeah, so I want to be making more content this year. I want to build community this year, and I want to have a great, wonderful, beautiful reading year that I'm sharing with all of you, and I'm very excited about it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please be sure to leave some of your 2025 reading goals in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys are working on this year. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a thumbs up. Maybe leave me a comment. You could just leave me a little emoji even if you don't have anything to say. But yeah, I love it. I'd appreciate it. Comments and likes really motivate me. So I would appreciate, you know, just a little bit of positive feedback. And thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you all in my next video. Bye, my loves. Mwah.